I'm so excited that you've taken time out to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. I hope you enjoy the broadcast. So sit back, relax, and I'll see you at the end of the show. One day someone asked me, Ella, why do you do talk shows? Like, why is this so important to you? I said, because I want people to know that God does use us. Because sometimes things don't happen to you. They happen through you. And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show, where we set the table for real talk conversations. So stay tuned. It's all coming up next. The Ella Johnson Show. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Hello, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. Listen, I told you guys we were coming live tonight because we have a lot to talk about, right, Johnny?
Absolutely.
Big John study is what they call it. Listen, guys,
Absolutely.
I am excited about this broadcast tonight because we are going to talk about what everyone else is talking about, the Diddy verdict. Okay, by now you have heard that Diddy was found not guilty, but he's also found guilty of some charges. So we're going to unpack all of that tonight. I really want to know what you think. Everyone has an opinion. It's pretty widespread as far as how people look at this, right, Big John? People are very diverse in their opinions about
different opinions.
Totally different. And it's good. It's welcome to hear the Ella Johnson Show. So we're going to talk about that. If you're watching from YouTube, please do me a favor and subscribe to my channel since you're already there. If you're watching from Facebook, please share the broadcast because I want as many people's opinions in on this as possible. I want you to leave comments so that we can bring them up on the screen. We will answer your questions. So I'm just so excited about this broadcast tonight because there's a lot to uncover. But I want you guys to meet my guest first. Tonight, joining me for this conversation is Big John Steady. Now, he is from Brooklyn, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. So he's familiar with the Guanzon, okay, in New York. So he's from Brooklyn, but he lives here now in Orlando. And he's doing spoken word all over the place. If you have never heard him do spoken word, he's a master. And that's real talk. Thank you for being with me tonight here on the Ella Johnson Show.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the Ella Johnson Show. This is a wonderful show. Like I've seen your growth, and one day soon I know you'll have your own network, your own broadcast. You'll be global. I see it all for you, and I'm very happy to be here with you tonight.
And I'm so excited that you're going to work on my jingle for me. That is so amazing. See how I did that, guys? I'm telling you, we have not because we asked not. I just kind of didn't ask. But he understands me. All right, guys, listen. We just got this verdict. Like, just on a scale of 1 to 10, just off the rip, do you think they got it right? Just off the rip. You think they got it right?
I think they got it.
All right.
And just like you, I kind of predicted that it would go this way. I do believe they got it.
See, this is the thing, guys. I want to first of all say that my heart does go out to anyone that is a domestic violence victim, survivor, advocate, all over. Domestic violence is something that we champion here on the Ella Johnson Show. And this case was something that was fresh and interesting to me because it's about sexual abuse. And as you know, sexual abuse is a form of domestic violence. So that's why this gained interest with me. And now we're at the verdict. He was found guilty. I want to show you guys the charges that he was looking at, and you can see for yourself. For those of you that have no idea what's going on, we're going to bring you up to speed tonight. All right. So check this out. There are 5 counts that Diddy was charged with. Count 1, count 2, 3, 4, and 5. Not guilty on 3 counts and guilty on 2. Now, the ones that he was found not guilty on, these are actually the more serious charges. These are the ones that could have given him at least a minimum 15 to life in prison. So he was not found guilty on these particular charges, but he was found guilty on the transportation to engage in prostitution for both Cassie and Jane Doe. Okay. So this is where we're starting tonight. This is the verdict. 3 out of the 5 he is found guilty. I mean, 2 out of the 5 he's found guilty. 3 out of the 5 he's found not guilty. And, so he's not looking at life, but he is still facing prison time, just not life. All right. What do you think about that?
Well, I want to ask you a question, Ella. Do
Sure.
you believe that the prosecution thought that they could actually convict him on those crimes, or do you think that they just were mounting up the charges, fully trying to expose him and throwing everything up against the wall and see what would stick? Do you think they really thought that they could prosecute him
I
on those charges?
I think that they went after racketeering because they were trying to get his money. Okay.
Okay.
Because with racketeering, we can wipe you out. I think that was the plan. And I do think they were trying to pile up on the charges to try to destroy him. And I think that order came down, and it wasn't just because of Cassie and these freak offs, if you will. I
Yeah.
think it's something way bigger. I think it's about Ciroc and the people that basically own everything in the world. And I think an
Yeah.
order was sent down, and I think that's why Diddy got wrapped up. He was trying to bite the hand that feeds him.
I was feeding him. I agree with you. I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
what happened. Now, a lot of people may have a different opinion about that, but that's just, I mean, not downplaying the stuff that he did that he should be punished for. Please let me make that very known that I
Yeah.
am definitely for him being, punished for some of the things that he did. However, this is a case, there is a trial, there is the law, and the burden of proof is on the state, the prosecution. They did not do that, and the jury spoke and said, we don't believe. I'm going to be honest with you, Johnny. I don't know what you think about the verdict. My opinion of what the jury was saying is Cassie, Jane Doe, I didn't quite buy it.
Yeah.
I kind of think you were complicit.
Complicit.
I think that you were kind of part of, sorry, I did. That's what I think the jury was saying. They were looking for more, but they have to follow the instructions by the judge. So we're
Now,
gonna jump right in.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
ask you, did you
Yeah.
hear that one of the jurors was having a challenge, as they say, following instructions? Did you
Yeah, I
hear
saw
about that?
that. I saw
Right.
that, and they had to send a letter to the judge and say, listen, can you tell them what's up, that we need them to follow the instruction so we can wrap this thing up, that kind of thing. So I mean, that happens, but let's just jump into some of the stuff from the trial. What stood
Mhm.
out to you? Like, what, let's start with the witnesses. When you think about all the witnesses that testified, which one or ones stood out to you the most?
One of the strippers, I can't remember his name, but I do remember his mouth is a little bit crooked. He's a fair-skinned brother. He has a bald head, and he had a lot of testimony about Cassie, and his testimony really stood out to me
Was that Kid
because
Cudi the one that, is that the
not
one that
Cuddy,
she had not Cudi? Okay.
not Cuddy. This guy was hired. He was a stripper, and he was hired. Um, and the way that he talked about Cassie is, he said he never felt like she was being forced, like it was never seen in front of him. That it always seemed like she was a willing participant. That she was always the one
Mm,
calling him. Everything was pleasant in her presence. Like, I thought that that was a very strong witness for the defense.
wow. Wow. That that's powerful. That's something to be talked about. So let me ask you a question then. When it came to Jane Doe, one of the things we learned in this trial is that she was getting her rent was being paid by him. Do you
Mm.
think that's something that the jurors looked at and was like, or do you think it didn't
They
matter
had
at
to
all? Because it
consider.
was a big deal in conversation on podcasts. But do you
They had to
think
consider.
yeah, you think
I think
so?
they had to consider it. I think sometimes the jury's hand can be tied to a degree because we all have common sense, and then the judge gives jurors specific instructions on things to follow. And sometimes that can get in the way of common sense. When you have to
Yeah,
read the fine print, there's that little accusation that's already pointing you towards a certain train of thought. But you may be thinking, like, this is just common sense, but you have to follow certain instructions. But I think that hurt the case. I do. It made her look complicit too. Like she could have walked
yeah.
away, like she was benefiting to a degree.
So let's take the comment from one of our viewers. Hattie says that the trial was a decoy, something to distract the public while the powers that be go do dirty deeds like the big
Mm.
beautiful bill. Oh Lord, don't get me talking about this big beautiful bill. My God, my God. Thank you, Hattie. I appreciate that comment. But girl, no, but I think she's right. I think that that is definitely what is very common in this administration. They definitely want to let's focus all the attention over there while you guys aren't focusing on this big beautiful bill. We're going to slip all that stuff right in under your nose, and before you know
Yeah.
it, you guys are more focused on Diddy than you are on that. No, let me just say to the administration, no, we can do two things at one time. We
You
can
can
walk and chew
multitask.
at the same time. So we haven't forgotten about the big beautiful bill. Just saying. Matter of fact, we might come back and talk about that next, right?
Yes.
Because I mean, real talk, people really do need to talk about that. But let's get back to this. Now, I did this show probably about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. We got on here and I had some domestic violence survivors on the show with me, Johnny, and we talked about Diddy. And you can get a sense that people that have actually been sexually abused, they're very passionate about it and they really do want to see it change. They've really been through stuff for real. But
Yeah.
then when I look at this Cassie situation, here's my issue, and I'm gonna just put it on out there. One of my main concerns was this money issue. Okay. Well, Ella, why? Well, because if you are a victim and you're suffering, you're going to tend to go to the thing that you think is going to give you the relief. And what Cassie said to me was, I'm going to get my relief by getting paid.
Mm.
So if that was enough to take care of you and to satisfy your suffering, because that's what the settlement is all about. I suffered, you pay me. So you were compensated for your suffering.
Yes.
So now on this end, now you want him to pay by going to prison for your suffering. So should he get his money back?
I don't understand why he paid it from the beginning based on everything that happened.
Well, I think that because he says that, Diddy has always denied these charges and these allegations. Granted, I mean, I would too. Even if I did it, I'd probably deny it. But he's always denied it. And based on his conversation is that I didn't give her this as an admission of guilt. It was just to satisfy that situation so I can move on with my life. So my thing
Mm.
is there's a question because in my last broadcast, she talked about I'm just so excited that I was able to tell my story and so that other people can do the same and I'm like, okay, I appreciate that, but I have a problem because is it about the money or is it about the message? Which one was it? Do you want us
Well,
to be survivors and survive, or do you want us to
uh,
figure out how to get $20 million?
there was a statement that she made, and I think it was very hurtful to the prosecution's case. She made a statement where one of Diddy's assistants told her, "Leave him. Why won't you leave him?" And she said, "If I leave him, Jay-Z is already taken. Who am I going to date?" So it was very relevant to
Oh,
status and money, saying like, if
yeah.
I leave Diddy, who has more
Yeah.
money than him? whose financial and economic status can match it. Jay-Z is already taken. And I thought that was a very damning and telling statement.
So what do you think she was trying to say?
She was trying to say, I need to be taken care of.
Ah, ding, ding, ding.
I need a man with money. I need a provider. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking
Now
for a provider and a rider.
but Big John, check this out. We both saw that video. We saw the
Yes, terrible,
video where
terrible.
he,
That was a terrible video.
yes, you need your ass whooped for that one, Diddy, because that was wrong on so many levels. I'm sorry, I cannot get behind that. That was
I
wrong.
can't even.
But
That was
here's the
terrible.
thing, everybody that's gonna tell me, Ella, did you see the video? Yes, but he wasn't charged for that. That wasn't one of the
That's
charges. That was
fact.
domestic violence. He wasn't charged for that. So this is what the purpose of this show is, so we can talk about what's real. We can't get caught up in our emotions. This was a trial. The prosecution had the burden of producing enough evidence to prove guilt. And the reasons they didn't do it, what do you think about the text messages? Do you think the text messages between her and Diddy, did that play a role in them not being able to bring the evidence to prove? Because everything the text message did said complicit, consent,
I think
enthusiasm, even.
the text messages planted seeds of doubt. It
Yeah.
planted seeds of doubt in her credibility. And that's all you really need is doubt. You just need two or three people to question the validity of what she's saying. And it did that.
Yeah. And I think that the prosecution, I just don't think they met their burden. Obviously, that's why he was found not guilty. And I think that they charged him with the wrong stuff. I think that's what happened. I think that if
It
they
should have
would have
been a civil
charged,
case. If they really wanted him in jail, it could have been a civil case and he'd be in jail right now for good.
you think so?
And I think a
Wow.
lot of people can't get away from that emotional aspect of that video. So they're blinded and they don't care about anything else. They say, did you see that video? I did, just like you said. And you say, but those aren't a part of the charges. I don't care. Did you see that
Yeah.
video? He's a monster. And then they go on a tandem based on emotions and based on their own life and challenges that took place. And they're not looking at the facts of what is he charged with? What is he actually fighting against in court?
And they said I was watching another podcast. I've actually watched podcasts all day today and read different articles that these ladies engaged in freak offs even without Diddy, Big John.
Yes. Yes.
So okay. So if
They'll have people
okay,
say,
unwrap that for
even
me.
though he was,
How
they'll have people say, even though he wasn't present, he did it for them. Like they did it for him, like to be pleasing to him, to be able to let him know, hey, listen, I'm being consistent. I'm still doing what I know would please you, though you're not present. Like that's their argument, is that it was never pleasing to them. It's not something that they wanted to do. Everything they did was for his approval. So though he wasn't present, they were just being consistent.
so that he
Which
can
which
say,
I
oh,
don't agree.
this person, they're all in my corner, they're doing what I want. Now, this is another thing that troubled me too. I learned about Jane Doe, other than the fact that he's paying for her rent or mortgage or whatever it was, and her legal bills. But there was a time where he and her were no longer together. And he had
Right.
moved on to Young Miami. I guess that's her name, Young
Yeah.
Miami or something like that. And Jane Doe became upset. Okay, now let me understand this. Now I've had some exes that when somebody take them, I'm like, girl, thank you. Bye. Deuces. Like I'm so excited. You did the hard work. You got rid of it for me. I'm not running behind him. You did
Right.
what I needed. He's gone. So
Right.
if he were so hard, such a horrible person, why did that trigger her when she saw him with someone else? She calls him up and like,
She felt
look, hey,
entitled to that money. It wasn't about the attention. She felt entitled to the money that was being spent.
yeah. But this is the thing though, Big John. Then how can I force you if I gave you an out to leave. You can't have it
Mm.
both ways. Either I'm forcing you to stay or I am letting you go. You can't have it both ways. I can't, you can't say that I'm forcing you to stay if you were gone and I've moved on. That means he didn't care as much as you guys thought he did. Okay. Then we had a situation where she was with him, like I guess in December, they broke up, she left him, and she was gone, and he was just living his best life, I guess. And then she came back in February when he threw her a birthday party. So I'm just like, all of this evidence that's coming out in a jury. I mean, I want you guys to think about it. What if you were sitting on the jury and you had to make this decision hearing all the evidence? Because think about it, Big John, they heard a lot more than we did. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
we weren't to, right? So that was actually a very mature decision that they had to make, because they had to put aside their emotions and stick to what they were instructed to do. There was doubt. And I think that the doubt came from Cassie and Jane Doe. That's where the
And
doubt
the
came.
thing too, I believe I want to say is that what we're hearing is just statements that were made.
Right.
But they literally saw testimony. They saw people testify. They saw body language. They saw facial expressions. They saw nervousness. They may have saw cunningness. They saw so much more than we saw and heard more than we heard. We're just getting like little snippets, or we're getting like testimony, but not like how they've gotten it. Everything was very concentrated for them.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's very difficult to give your opinion when somebody is giving you a guidelines on how you can think. They've taken away your common sense to say, this is how I want you to think. This is the guidelines on how you can sway one way or the next. So what if I just say, like for instance, there was one where they said, if Diddy was in another country with somebody and they just asked for drugs, they asked him for the drugs, and he gave them the drugs, he still would be like distributing it. Like even though they asked him for it. Like, so a person with common sense may say, well, they asked him for the drugs. He gave it to him, like they wouldn't perceive it as him being a distro, as him distributing it, even though the fine line says it's the same thing. But like I said, based on what came out, I agree with the judgments. I agree with what they said.
So let's talk about these freak offs, because a lot of people, it's hard to talk about them, but we can talk about them.
A freako is not a Rico. A freako is not a Rico. One more
Right.
time. Rico.
Frico is not a Rico. I
Rico is
get
not
it.
a Rico.
But let's talk about the freak offs. They were disgusting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were pretty disgusting. I'm not gonna go into detail about what they talked about in the freak offs, but is a freak off illegal?
Well, by definition, it may be, but to you and I, just behind the scenes being freaky, that's not illegal. But when you're dealing with money and the exchange of money in different hands, people being hired, crossing state
Wait a minute, did you
lines.
just call me freaky?
No, no, I don't know. I mean, no, 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 no.
I just can't let that. I'm like, wait a minute. I know I'm not slow. I thought, didn't he say behind closed doors? To us, it's not. What you mean?
I'm saying behind closed doors, people have different fetishes and different things that they enjoy.
Yeah, of course, of
Right?
course.
And like you're
But
saying, like that is not illegal
yeah,
based on our perception. Hey, if somebody wants to, lick on all each other and do different things, we're not going to get into it, but that's not illegal. However, when you involve more parties and then money changes hands, and
ah,
when you cross state lines,
right.
then they may
That's
be
when
able
it
to catch you
becomes.
within some fine print, and then they may be deemed illegal based on those factors.
Yeah.
However, somebody just being freaky in the bedroom, that's not illegal. Now, it may not be moral, but it's not illegal.
And I think that's exactly what happened. And one thing, I'm gonna read a state that read what the defense They did something bold and gutsy when they started the opening statements, because I totally agree with this. Don't come in here acting like this man isn't disgusting, because you're gonna lose the jury. And I think they realized that, so they owned it. And they were basically said, Miss Garagos, whatever her name is, she conceded that Combs could be violent. She said she understood that some jurors might not condone this, nor his kinky sex, but the rapper is not charged with being mean, she said. And his lifestyle may have been indulgent, but it was not illegal.
Mm.
And so she is upfront saying, look, you guys are getting ready to hear some disgusting stuff. We already know Cassie's coming. We know Jane Doe is coming. We know all these people are going to come in here, talk about how freaky he is, how she had herpes in her mouth.
Talking
We
about baby
already know
oil,
that's coming. Baby oil
baby
all day,
oil.
lube, all this stuff. We know you're getting ready to hear some disgusting stuff, but I don't want you to judge my client on that, because he's not charged with that. It may be indulgent, it may be weird, freaky, stupid, but it is not illegal. And so they laid the ground, they laid it up front, exactly what you expect. Do you think that helped?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It set parameters.
Yeah.
Like, we're not trying to pull the wool over your eyes. We're not
That's
calling this
what
guy
I
a
was trying.
saint. Yeah, we're not calling him a
Exacto.
saint. We're saying that
Yeah.
there are some specifics here, and we want you to judge him within the specific charges.
So why do you think people support him getting off? Why do you, let's talk about both, because there are a lot of people that think he's an idiot, he's a tard, he should have gotten life, he should be rotting in a jail in prison for the rest of his life. There are people that think that, but there are people that are rooting for his
In my
release.
opinion, based on both sides, those who wanted him off and those who didn't. I believe everybody to a degree is living vicariously through him, through this trial, based on their upbringing, their challenges, their trauma. And based on those things is whether they want him released or not. Now, somebody who may have had a challenge in the justice system or had a challenge with the police or police brutality or things of that nature, they may say, we just want to see all black men go free. We don't care what they've done. We just want to see them go free. And then the total opposite end of the spectrum or extreme is, because I had a sexual challenge, because I faced sexual assault, sexual battery, things of that nature. I don't care what he was charged with. I saw the video. I heard her testimony.
Ah,
He should be locked
gotcha.
under the jail. So I feel like people are living vicariously through him to a degree.
So where do you fall on that list?
I want justice to be served. I want justice to be served. And I think it has been. So far, like, I agree with the verdicts. And I don't think that he should just go free just because he's Diddy or just because he has money. Because where I
Definitely.
fall is this, to be totally honest, the way I fall is this: I'm a poet, I'm an entertainer. I had ambitions to be a part of the industry, right? Not the necessarily music industry, but the entertainment industry. And there's been many testimony about how P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puff Daddy has abused his power and has been like a guardian at the door and not allow people to go through and be successful based on sexual favors and things of that nature. So that alone can make me look at him from my vantage and say, listen, man, this guy's been a hindrance to true talent and has been pulling favors. And, just based on that fact alone, get him, go ahead and get him. But I learned how to step back and not to be emotional about it and truly say, is justice being served? Was the case proven? This is the court of law. The blessing about being in the United States is that you're able to go to court and you have to be found guilty. You have to be proven guilty. And that's wonderful. And what my dad used to always tell me is money is a defense. I mean, anytime he talked to me about money, he says, son, don't hate money. People say money is the root of all evil and things of that nature, but money is a defense. And when you have money, you can defend yourself. And based on the amount of money that he had, He had the people that could come into court and articulate things that needed to be articulated, plan proper strategies, and they didn't get over. They didn't buy any of the witnesses, they didn't buy the jurors, but they just had the tenacity to be able to get up there and defend him properly. And they left it in the jurors' hands. And I agree with the verdicts.
Speaking of the defense, based on what I've read, they did like what 26, 23 minutes. Part is what their defense entailed, like 23 minutes worth of conversation. He didn't get on the stand. They didn't bring any witnesses. And so I saw where they were being interviewed asking, well, why did you guys do that? Like what was the mindset behind that? They were like, we had confidence that because there had been reasonable doubt, because they could have
Yes.
hurt themselves bringing witnesses. So they made a
Yes.
calculated decision and said, we don't need to bring witnesses. They've basically done our work for us by,
Right. They didn't prove the
bringing
case.
in reasonable doubt. So I thought that was very interesting that they felt that confident. And they also, in the closing arguments, I understand that they really pushed the text messages. They kept pushing the text. Just remember the text. Remember the text, where she's complicit with him. She's asking when we're going to do the next one. And it's like, come on, that can't be coercion. That can't be force. She was agreeing with. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Because we
Mhm.
know that she went through a lot. We know that she went through being pulled over the balcony. Do you think that, because this is one of those things that a lot of people ask domestic violence survivors or victims, why didn't you leave? Now that's a horrible question, and I don't usually like to ask, but why do you think she didn't leave? Because I'm not asking a victim now, I'm asking you
Well,
now.
I'll put it to you like this. I think that there were times that she couldn't leave. I think that there were certain moments within their relationship where she could not leave, meaning that he had bouncers and bodyguards, and they said people that would go get her. If she left, they'd find her, they'd bring her back, they'd stop her from leaving. If there was domestic violence in the house, they would all like gather around to see what was going on, but they really weren't trying to protect her. They were more gathering around in his interest and making sure that he was okay. So I think there was a time when she really felt that she could not leave, and that was valid. However, I do also believe that there were times when she could have left and she chose to stay. She decided to stay ultimately. But there was times that she couldn't have left, and there was times that she could leave.
Because didn't she eventually leave? Yes.
Yeah,
How did she get
yes.
out? How did she get
But
out?
even
Those are
when
the
she eventually left, she still came back. So now, people speak to that. Now, I haven't gone through those challenges, thank God, but people speak to that and they say, that's a victim complex.
yeah,
I
I've
forgot the
heard
exact
that.
term they use,
Yeah,
right? And, stuff like that. So I'm not going to try to defend it, nor am I going to go against it, but I'm just going to say
yeah.
that all we can do is just look at the facts. That's all you can do is just look at the facts.
Now I know I mentioned how I felt about the money. How do you feel about the money? Do you think that is that a red flag for you that she went to try to get money on the, like, okay, I'm going to present, because it was her filing that civil suit that
Mhm.
made people pay attention and like, ooh, okay, what? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? That alerted the authorities to this because she filed that civil suit. Um, what do you think a person's intention is for asking for settlements like this?
Well, they're trying to get compensation for their pain, for their suffering. They don't necessarily want to see you go to jail. They want to see you literally pay. I want to
There it
see this
is.
person.
There it is. She didn't want to see him go to jail. Why? Why not? If what he did was criminal, why not put him in jail?
This is true.
I'm okay
This
with
is true.
victims getting paid. I'm not against that because they always have victims assistance programs, but this was not that type of thing. She didn't go through the system. She went to him directly. So
Yeah.
we got to keep it real. She didn't do that way. She wanted to make good on this situation, and I guess she figured getting paid will take care of me. So
But
that's
what
the
I don't
only thing.
understand is why does she want him to go to jail now? Why is she writing a letter to the judge requesting that he not be released on bail now? And you have $20 million from him, you have $10 million from the hotel, you have $30 million, and you have your husband by your side. What are you afraid of now? Why do you want him to go to jail now? Is my question. Why did you do that?
Because she said that she and her lawyer say he is a danger to them. Their life is in danger. This is
With
why
thirty
this
million
letter.
dollars? With $30 million, you telling
Yeah,
me
for
my
30
life is in
million.
danger with $30 million? No, my life is not in danger with $30 million. No,
Because I'll find
no,
somewhere to hide. I'll
no,
buy me
exactly.
somewhere to hide.
I'll buy protection. I'll be okay. You ain't coming near me. I got $30 million. You're not. I'm not untouchable. You
Do
know
you
what I'm
think her
saying? I
life
can
is in
still
danger? Do you
not
think
with
her
thirty
life is
million
in
dollars.
danger?
My
No, I
my
mean
life is not in
seriously though.
danger for $30 million. Only God can touch me. For thirty
No, but I'm
million dollars, that
saying,
means that
do you think that Diddy would try to do something to her?
not at this point. Diddy wants to go home. He wants to be free. He's already paid her. He's not going to try to do anything to her at this point. The spotlight is on him. Eyes are on him. Everybody's watching. He's not going to do anything.
Should they have let him out? Should he have gotten
I
bail?
think. I think so. Excuse me. I absolutely think so.
You don't think he's a flight risk?
I think that they can set boundaries where he can't be a flight, where he has house arrest, passports are taken away from him, passports are taken away from his children. He's home, he's in the house. Like, I think that that's something else. Like how we started the show off, and you said that there are, it's bigger than just Cassie and Diddy. It's bigger
Yes.
than just that. I believe he was denied bail from the beginning because it's bigger than that. And I definitely believe even now he was denied bail again, and it's bigger than that. It's bigger than Cassie feeling like she's in danger with $30 million.
Could it be though, that perhaps they know that these charges that he was found guilty, that he's facing up to 10 years on those. They have a max of 10 years each. So you're looking at 20 years. So could
So,
it be
but
that
the
he's
thing is,
look,
even
he's
if
gonna
they
get
were
some time.
afraid, but what it means to me is like you're saying, they're saying, well, we're afraid that if we let him out, we won't get him back in. Like if we let him go home right now, it'd be impossible to get him back in here. That's what it sounds like to me. Is that what you're
I
saying?
think so. No, I'm saying like he's gonna get time. First of all, let's establish that. Do you think that he's going to do time with having 10 years max on the charges he was found guilty? Do you think he's going to do time?
I believe I think that's going to be based on his record, to me, in my opinion. Like if Diddy is already a felon, I believe that could happen. Or it could be time served and 10 years probation. He
Dang,
could go
that's a
with
long
all
time to do.
time served, and 10 years probation. But it depends on his record already if he was already a felon. Now we know he had problems in the past with shootings and college
I don't think
killings
he
when
was
people
ever
got
charged with any
strangled.
of that stuff,
And that's
though.
what I'm saying. I'm saying like he was
Hmm.
charged, but I don't think he was ever found guilty where he was a felon. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If he's a felon, then I think they can hold him in a certain regard. But if he's not a felon, it's almost like he's a first time offender. And if he's a first time offender, his judges should be able, I mean, his lawyers should be able to put it at where they say, listen, allow that man to have time served. He never went home. He never was given bail, and give him 10 years probation. It could happen.
So I want you to pretend like you're Judge Johnny. All right. Tonight you're gonna be Judge Johnny on the Ella
Here's my
Johnson show.
mallet. Here's my mallet.
Get your stuff together, brother. Get your stuff together. I'm gonna need you to role play for me. All right. So here you are faced with Diddy. You got all of these people looking at you. You know you're going to be scrutinized no matter what you do. So are you looking at the fact that they did not prove their case, and you're going to look at that? Or are you going to look at the stuff that didn't get allowed into the trial? Because you know everything. If anybody knows everything that really went on, it's the judge. because there's a lot of stuff that they didn't allow in for the jury to see, but he saw it. Can he make an opinion on that? Or does he have to stick strictly, you judge, are you going to stick strictly with what he was found guilty and not guilty of to make your decision? The fact that they
I,
didn't prove their case, I think speaks volume.
I believe that judges, and I've seen it in the past, judges can be emotional as well. I've seen it in different cases
Okay.
where judges have stepped outside of the boundaries and they've been emotional as well, and they can give you literally almost what they want to give you. Like they have certain parameters too that they have to fall under, but they can give you the max to what they feel you deserve. So it depends on like what kind of energy. Like they said a few times, the judge had to speak to him about his body language and him kind of rooting or frowning his face
Oh,
up and
yeah.
things
I
like
heard about
that.
that.
So there's different things where the judge has been present the entire time.
Yeah,
So
but
the
that's
entire
immature.
time
How
that
you gonna judge him based on? I mean, come on, that's not against the law
right.
because he's just playing games like everybody does. They all play games with the system. I mean, he has to get out of his emotions too. You got to
This
stick
is a
by.
high this is a high profile case. This isn't me up there. This isn't you up there. This is a person who is a billionaire. And I mean, if what my dad said is true, that money is a defense, then he's supposed to be released. I'm just saying, based on his status and his stature, at one point being given the keys to the city and all these different things, owning $1 million corporations, like he should be granted bail. If he was a white man, he'd be granted bail. So if he can afford bail, you put an ankle bracelet on him, you send the man home, allow him to come back and be sentenced. Now, if it was me being sentenced, this is how it would go. I would say, bailiff, and he'd say, what do you say, judge? And I'd say, free Diddy. Free Diddy. A Freako is not a Rico. Free
and
Diddy.
and
And once he
and I get
steps
all
out
of
my
that. Yeah.
courtroom, listen, once he steps out my courtroom, the challenges don't stop there. The challenges don't stop there. He has a lot of civil suits that he still has to deal with. He has
Oh
so
yeah,
many
it's
people
definitely
that
not
come up.
over.
Yeah, it's not over, but
It's
as it
not
pertains
over.
to in my courtroom, it's over. We've already said what it is. Now moving forward, we're not holding this thing about Cassie against him to that degree because that's not what he's here for. I'm literally going to say time served, 10 years probation, free Diddy. A Freako is not a Rico. Free Diddy.
How do you
Sorry,
get
you guys.
people to how do you get people to forget about the freak offs? Because
Don't ever forget.
that's gonna forever follow him, don't you think?
But our people, to a degree, are so fickle that, like, and I told you this before, if Diddy dropped a song in January, they'd be dancing to it. It'd be a hit. Like, people are more forgiving than you actually believe. Celebrity status, finances, economics, like all those things can be spent. Time heals all wounds. As time goes on and passes on, people will forgive, it will calm down to a degree. And I'm telling you, he's still a celebrity. He still has celebrity status. He still has money. I've heard people already say, well, he'll never make it through this, or his reputation is ruined, this, that, and the third. He'll be the butt of a joke for about 2 years. He'll be the butt of a joke, but his career is not over. If he gets free, he can come back. He can bounce back. Anybody can bounce back. I'm telling you, anybody can bounce back.
What about Cassie? What do you think her hit is? Because I mean, did you see? I mean, they said that on the stand she didn't make eye contact with Diddy. She was very cool, calm, collected. She got up there, said what she had to say. Imagine being her husband though,
That's what I'm
listening
about
to
to say.
all of
Can
that.
anybody check on Cassie's husband? Can anybody check on Cassie's husband? Because now, let's keep it real. Men have been in relationships with women and asked them questions about previous relationships. And women have been forthcoming and told a lot of things. Normally, you still hold back certain information, but you tell what you think is warranted. This man has sat there and heard everything. He's
Yeah.
heard it all. I mean, like he's heard it all. Everything is revealed. Transparency. Anything she didn't tell him before, he knows it all now. But like I said, they have $30 million, Queen. They got $30 million. Cassie will be
So
okay too. She'll
so
be
how do you
okay.
think Americans, I mean, I know how I feel about the money. That's the one thing. I mean, I'm all for people getting their money, but I you can't then tell me something else when I see that your thing to get your relief was to get paid. So
Yeah.
it lends to, I'm sorry, I can't get past that part. But do you think that people judge her for getting the money? Or do you think people are like, you go girl, get your coins? What
I
do you
don't
think?
I think there's a better balance than that. I don't think people are upset that she got the money, nor are they like, go girl, you got the coins either. But I just think it planted certain seeds in everybody's mind that she was more complicit and that it was more about the money at the end of the day. When it was
Yeah,
all said and done, it boiled down to the money. Like, and most people believe that too. Like, it's always about the money at the end of the day. When
at
it
the end of
all
the day.
boils down, it's the money.
True. So let's talk about what the prosecutors are going after. Now, I told you that Diddy is looking at up to 10 years for each one of those counts. So we're looking at 20 years that he could be
Ooh,
sentenced on October 3rd, right? 20 years, my friend.
yeah.
The prosecutors are going for 51 to 63 months. That's what they're going after. The Diddy's team is looking at 21 to 27 months, including the 9 that he will already have done by the time they go to sentencing. So, what do you think about that? 51 to 63 months? That's over
Wow.
5 that's over 5 years. That's almost 6, that's like basically almost 6
Wow.
years. Over 6 years. No, 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Do you think he could survive 5 years in federal prison?
He can survive it. He can survive it. And to tell you the truth, we can't even go based on what we believe he can survive and can't, and being emotional about it. It has to be justice, like justice served. Like let there be some balance in it. Like you're not throwing the book at him. However, you're not being lenient just because he's a celebrity. You may have
Do
to
you
do.
think he should do
You may have
time
to
at all though, Big John? Do you think he should do any time? Do,
yeah,
do, do, do.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I have to say yes because what you do in the dark comes to light, and everything that he's done has still not been put forth on the table. The
Yeah,
only
I
thing
don't think
that's
he
been
should
put
get away
forth,
with it. He has to do some time.
I mean,
Yeah,
he can't. He got to do some time. He has to do
yeah.
some time. Justice has to be served. You know what I mean? So I just don't think they're supposed to throw the book at him. I also think that he should have been granted bail. However, he may have to do 2, 3 years. And if he's in New
So,
York, if he's supposed to do 2, 3, then he maybe do 5, 6.
well, look at this. This is what Diddy did right after he got after the verdict was read. This is what he did based on the sketch artist. He was on his knees. You know, that's how we all do. We find God. So, do you think that, I mean, we won't know obviously because we're not in his brain or his heart, but do you think that he learned something through this?
He had to learn. He had to learn. Now I don't know if he's going to apply what he's learned, but he had to learn. You had to
Can you
learn through that. Like this has to be extremely stressful for a man who was on top of the world and on top of the world for 2 to 3 decades. You couldn't even talk about music or the industry without mentioning Diddy since maybe 92. And we're in 2025. And to be reduced to this, to have your business put out there like that, to have your children and your family embarrassed, like he has to have learned a lesson. Now, will he apply it to his life and do better? That I can't say. But there's no way he couldn't have learned because it was put in his face. It was put in his face. And they
Do you
definitely taught
think?
him a lesson with denying him bail.
Oh, definitely. Do you think that survivors can look at this story and learn something? And if so, what? What can the survivors, if you're out there being sexually abused,
From the
what can they
survivors
learn
I've
from
heard
this?
from, it's bitterness, man. You know, from the survivors that I know, and when they speak about the trial, their eyes, their ears are clogged to anything else except listen. The man is a monster. That's it. All they know is the man is a monster and he needs to be put away. They don't want to hear the specifics. They don't want to talk about specifics in court. They're just saying, listen, he's a monster. I seen what he did. I heard from Cassie's own mouth what he did. He's a monster. And they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. You ever talk to somebody and they'll say, I don't care what nobody says. And then they'll make a statement. You know what I'm talking about? They'll be
Yeah.
like, I don't care what nobody says. Now, when a person says that, you got to take them at their word. They don't care what anybody says. Their mind is made up.
Yeah. I just, the more I think about this, I just feel like I just think we're missing the message. And I think it's that, like you said, what's done in the dark will come to light. You will not get away with it.
Not gonna get away.
Um, he was hurting people. I think that he was being very cocky. I think he thought he was untouchable.
Yes.
And I think that this showed him that no, you can too. Because my motto is the bigger you are, the harder you fall.
Yeah, you
And
can be
I,
tough.
I don't
You can be tough.
I don't feel bad for Diddy. Let me make that very clear. But at the same time, right is right. And the prosecution, unfortunately, did not prove their case.
They
And
didn't
what the
prove it.
jury was saying is, I'm sorry, ladies, but I didn't quite get it. You had too many mixed messages in there, and I cannot convict this man for the rest of his life. And you guys went along with it. I can't do that. And I think that's where their dilemma was on that. Because I didn't think that the racketeering was hard to not do. I thought that one was pretty cut and dry that they didn't prove that. Because this is how I knew the prosecution was going the wrong way. All you kept hearing about is the video.
Right.
That was always the video. And I'm like, guys, he wasn't charged for this. What does this video prove? That he was abusive? Got it. No, no, but you didn't charge him for that. So tie that in some kind of way that he had some kind of criminal enterprise, because that's what racketeering is. Yes. So how were they tied? What was the mindset behind the prosecution to make this be racketeering? What was their mindset
You know
behind
what's
that?
sad is that there are other people who say that they believe that Puffy has something to do with Tupac's murder. There's certain people that
Heard
say that
that.
Puffy may have had to do something to do with Biggie Small's murder.
I've heard that.
None of that
Yes.
was even brought up. None of that was even brought up. Now you're trying to go with Rico and racketeering and things of that nature. They didn't even touch on those subjects. All they talked about was the domestic violence and the
Or
freak
the
off.
gun charge or the guns.
Right, finding guns. Like we didn't even hear about that stuff. That's why in my mind I'm saying, did they really even think that they could get that, or did they just want to
They
destroy
couldn't
him,
have.
public
They couldn't
opinion,
have.
get his money, get all that he could, humble him?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I'm like, they had 6 prosecutors out there trying this. 6 on the state side. And you mean to tell me that you guys didn't plan this? Like, how did you even get to this point without enough evidence to prove racketeering? Like, when you present your evidence to get somebody charged, you got to present enough evidence for them to say, yeah, I could see this, right?
Right.
So what did they I mean, it blows my mind. And then people are upset, calling Diddy this and that. It's the law. It reminds me from the part in New Jack City where everybody hated Nino Brown, right? And he
Right
was
at
like,
the
it's the
end.
law, Mrs. Hawkins, right? That part,
Yeah.
because they were upset that they could get him. And I think that's the same kind of situation we have here, is that people wanted him to go down so badly, rightfully so, I understand. But at the same time, this was a trial. And in a trial, you have to prove your case. And that's why I've taken my emotion out of it and I'm sticking to that. And that is why I agree with the verdict, because the verdict fit the evidence you presented,
And it
right?
showed the judicial system can work, that it
Yeah, it
can
works
work.
some. It works
Well, I'm saying,
sometimes,
but you have to, because
you
we
know.
have to put ourselves in that same light that if we're charged with something, if we're standing before a judge, could public opinion get us locked up? Could propaganda get us locked up? Or do they have to prove that we actually did something? Or could they just say, "Oh, he's a mean guy, I don't like him," and you get locked up? Or
Right.
well, he's this
Yeah.
type of person. This is his personality. This is the energy that he carries, and they lock me up for that. God forbid. You have to prove the case. What did I actually do? What are my charges? Can they prove my charges? Can they prove that I'm guilty? If they can't prove that I'm guilty, I'm assumed innocent.
So why do you think Diddy never did these freak offs at his house? They were always in hotels.
They said it used to be a mess. I mean, even Cassie testified that after the freak offs was done, like the place would be a mess. I mean, the carpets would have baby oil all in it, the curtains, the couches, like it would take thousands of dollars for them to just get the room back in
Like,
order for
what are
somebody
they
to.
doing that made that destroyed the room?
And
Like
the thing
what
is,
in
you if you're hiring people, you don't want them to know where your home is. You don't want them to know where you stay. So it'd be better that you meet at a hotel
that makes
and
sense.
have hired people come there as opposed to coming to your home.
Yeah, but I think it's a different reason though why he didn't do it at his house. I think it has something to do with what they can get him on and can't get him on. I don't
Mm.
know. But I mean, he still got that transportation because clearly he was taking them across state lines.
Now let me
That was
ask
an
you a question.
easy one.
I got a
Yeah,
question for you.
talk to
When
me.
Diddy first got arrested, I don't know if you remember all the rumors that were going around in Hollywood with Diddy got everybody on tape. He got everybody in
Yeah.
these freak offs. Oh, his all white party got all these sexcapades and freak off, freak off, freak off. And then we come to find out freak off was between him and one person. And then a male prostitute coming in every once in a while. What happened to Leonardo DiCaprio and all these other people that
Listen,
were supposed to be involved with all these freak offs and all these Hollywood celebrities that were supposed to be shaking in their boots because they were going to be brought to the forefront? And listen, they even said at that time that children were involved in freak offs. Remember? When it first came out, they were saying that little children were involved in these freak
I've never
offs
heard that
and
part.
adults
Yeah.
was being, yeah, that children was being sex trafficked. This was all that we heard. And then when it all boiled down, the freak offs was between him and Cass. And of course, like the prostitutes, the male prostitutes that were coming in
So
individually. But
let's talk about those tapes. You remember I told you at the beginning that Diddy bit the hand that fed him?
yes,
Vanguard and BlackRock. These people
yes,
own everything in the world, right?
yes, yes.
They helped Diddy get where he is. And he wanted, I guess he was trying to petition them to have more involvement with Ciroc, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that those people wanted this to go down to get those tapes. That there's some of their interested parties are like, look at here, bruh, you got to do whatever you got. We got to get those tapes because we got some prominent people on that tape. We need to get those tapes. Okay. And the only way to do that was to put this big show on and
So they
all
can
the
raid
baby
their
oil and
house.
all
So
this
they
kind of
can
stuff.
rip it. Yeah,
Yes. I think they got him, but I don't think it was part. I think it was just for these big wigs to get their hands on it, and they had to
absolutely.
make him go down in the process. Because from what I understand, that he cost them, I think it was $16 billion
Wow.
with his tactics that he was trying to do. He cost them a lot of money. They were like, "Oh no, bro. Oh no, we got to
No.
get it at you some kind of way,"
They
and
said
they
you a
wanted
guest
to
at the
destroy
table.
him.
They tell him you're a guest at the table and you acting like you running things now, and it doesn't go
There
that
it
way. So
is. There's
we got to put him in his place. He got to be humble.
and
But the thing about
racketeering
Diddy
would
is
take his
this.
money though.
Let me say
But
this though.
yeah,
The thing about Diddy is this. If you look at Diddy's track record as it pertains to Rock the Vote, as it pertains to certain charities, Like he could really have been an upstanding person and done a lot of things in the community. But it's like he was living a double life. Like sometimes he would be spot on, trying to help the people, trying to help the community, doing certain things. And then other times he could be very devious and maniacal. So it's like, and there's other people that do the same thing. It's like you're being double minded. Because now
Money
when he turns around and
exposes.
says,
Yeah.
I did this to make sure that we can all have a seat at the table and black businessmen and black businesses should have the same, you can't say all that and then at the same time you're throwing parties where you got people eating monkey brains allegedly, and you got celebrities doing all this stuff that so you can have things on them. And I mean,
Here's what I think. I think that money exposes who you really are, you
absolutely.
know? And if
Absolutely.
you're
Because a lot of
kind,
people talk
giving,
about
yeah,
Diddy. If they had that
yeah.
money that Diddy has, they would be doing some things too. I'm not saying they would be going to that degree, but listen, they be
That
doing
is
some
why
pretty
I
crazy
believe
stuff.
in being poor first, because being poor will ground you. And
I
there's
respect that.
certain lines like I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to have a few coins. So
Yes.
if I have to go back to being poor, it's not going to freak me out because I've been there. If I
Yes.
can hold on to my morals, I'm okay if I got to go back there. And I think that
Yeah.
what happens is sometimes people go through poor with a different mindset. They're like, I'll do whatever I got to take, whatever it takes, and never go back there. You know what I'm saying? You see the difference? And I think that that's where Diddy is, and he knew that he could control people with his money. And the reason he knew that is because it worked.
Yes.
Oh, well, if I just slapped you upside the head, okay, here's $2 million. Go shopping. Okay, it worked. And I think that they were like, they wanted to go, they didn't want to lose that. And
Hmm.
if you're a real victim, and this is what the victims that I interview on this show tell me, that Ella, I wanted out so badly, I left with nothing but the clothes on my back.
I've heard that
When
before
you're
too.
really a victim, when
I've heard
you're
that before
really a
too.
victim.
I've heard women say,
Exactly.
I let the man have everything. He
Uh,
could have the house, he could have everything. I just wanted to go. I've heard that
yeah.
before as well. I just wanted to get out of there. Nothing else mattered.
Yeah. And that was my only question with Cassie. And that's why I asked you earlier. Do you think she had the opportunity to leave? Because if she did, then you weren't forced, you
Right.
know? Well, what else did you want to add about this? I tell you, I it's been a great conversation. I knew it
One
would be with
thing
you.
I want to say is this,
Yeah.
and it's a little off the subject and then it's on the subject at the same time. As
Okay.
people, we gotta be careful with these text messages. You gotta be careful with these text messages. Listen, man. Like when you write these text messages, you think just because you hit delete, it's deleted, and it's not deleted. Like, make sure if you're writing something that you can stand behind what you've written, no matter who reads it later on in the past, conversations you may have. Sometimes I'm in somebody's inbox and we're just saying jokes. It's just a joke. However, if it's read out loud, how will that joke stand in front of other people? So you just got to
Right.
be very careful when you're leaving text messages to people. It'd be better that you can just go ahead and talk to them and speak to them. And if something happens, God forbid, it could be hearsay. It's your word against their word. But once you leave that text message, listen, that's something that everybody can read later on. And when you're writing a text message, as you already know, people can't hear tone, people can't see body language, people can't see facial expressions. That's why so many people put LOL after almost every sentence to let you know, hey, this is a light
I'm
statement.
kidding.
This isn't something serious. I'm just joking. Because if you don't put LOL, you don't know how it's going to read. So I will say that we have to be careful with these text messages on what we're writing because those text messages, like you said, was a strong case against them. If they didn't have those text messages, imagine if they didn't have
That is
Cassie's text
very
messages.
true. That is very
So we got
true.
to consider that moving forward, just as individuals. When you're texting people and you're writing people and you're in those DMs or you're sending emails and stuff like that, make sure you can stand behind those words later, or make sure you're putting those LOLs, make sure you're putting hyphenated. I'm only kidding right now, whatever like that. Write it like the whole world can see it.
as you're talking, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about my text messages. I'm like, wow, have I sent something that I might regret later? You know, I mean, I'm such a good girl that I don't do freaky things on text messages or anything like that. But you're right. Anything can be interpreted to be that way because I'm sure that Cassie never thought in a million years that her text would end up in part of this big trial like this. And it
Most of the
ultimately, I
time when
do
you send a
believe,
text message,
yeah,
you yourself, you could explain it. You can explain it away. But what about if you couldn't explain it and they just had to read it for themselves?
that's
If
true.
you weren't given the opportunity to stand behind and say, oh, well, this is why I was saying that. This is the backstory. This is the what if you can't do that and it's just being read? They're only being
Yeah.
read. Could you stand behind them? What would it make your character look like?
Yeah. Because communication is not just about being understood, but it's also about not being misunderstood as well.
Mm, that was
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something to remember.
Yeah.
That's something to
Okay.
remember.
Well, as always, I always have a good time with you, conversation and being on the
I
show. I'm
love
so
Ella.
glad.
I love Ella.
And you're going to be
You
at
know,
my birthday party. Yes.
what? Of course.
You already
You gonna
got the
hook me up,
cowboy
Ella?
hats.
Ella, you gonna hook me up?
Hook you up how?
Mm, mhm,
No,
mm,
I, I I need clarity. Hook you up how?
hook
With
me
a
up, Ella.
dance?
I do want to dance from you, but you gotta hook me up, with one of your girlfriends, you know?
Okay. I got you.
You gotta hook me
there's
with one
gonna
of
be
your
a
girlfriends.
there's gonna be a lot there. Some of them are with people, so you might need to check with me first. But my
Wow. It gotta
sisters,
be
I have
single. I'm not messy, nothing messy. Gotta be single.
no, I know that's right. Absolutely. I know how you roll. But anyway, big bro, I
No Diddy.
appreciate
No
you.
Diddy. No Diddy.
W-
No Diddy,
Now you
baby.
know.
No Diddy.
No, you know
Yeah.
what? I was so tickled today when I heard somebody call him Pimp Diddy. I was, I was like, not Pimp Diddy. I mean, it's not
that's
funny because
that's P
being a
E
pimp is
E
not
Diddy. P
P
Diddy.
Diddy. Yeah, that's
P E
disgusting
E
as well.
Diddy. Yeah, P Diddy.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely disgusting too.
Pretty-
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed it. You listen, guys. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this broadcast. We just wanted to come on and talk a little bit about our thoughts about the trial. I mean, everybody, like I said at the beginning, everyone has their opinion. It is welcomed here, as you can tell, because it was a big trial. It really was, but it exposed so much. There's so much that all of us can take from this, you know, Cassie, it's Cassie today, but who can it be tomorrow? And I
And
think that
even though it's over, it's not over.
it's not over. Oh
It's
yeah,
not
he's
over.
far from being over because
Even though
he's
it's over, it is
already
not over.
yeah, he's already looking at some more civil cases coming. Even right now,
Some people
people
say
are going to
Donald Trump
start
is gonna. Some people say Donald Trump is gonna come and pardon him. I don't know. I mean, I
right.
don't know if that's true, but that's a rumor that Donald Trump just might pardon him.
Well, I mean, if you're a felon and you are a freak, Donald Trump is with it. So, yeah, he probably
Yeah,
will.
birds of
Do
a
you
feather.
think I would be disappointed if he did that? Would you be I mean, I know you say free Diddy, but what is Diddy going to learn if he's not accountable?
It goes back to what I said before, Queen, about money being a defense. Like money is a defense, and there's
He's
only
going
an
to have to pay for
accountability.
that freedom? Is that what you're saying? He's going to have to pay for
I'm
that freedom.
saying that I'm saying that kings hold other kings accountable, and there's a king of kings, and there's a lord of lords, and he holds accountable. You understand? I can't hold Diddy accountable for anything based on my stature. But there are those that are above Diddy and above everyone else that will hold him accountable. And I don't mean in the afterlife, I mean in this life right here. He will
Right.
be held accountable. There is karma. You know what I mean? I believe in God, and I know that He's only going to allow but so much. He's only going to turn away from so much. After a certain point, He's going to say, "Okay, enough is enough," and that's it.
Yeah.
So when I say free Diddy, I'm just talking about on bail right now. I'm not talking about free Diddy like don't hold him accountable for anything at all. I'm saying give this man bail. Let him out. Give him bail. Let him come back in August. Put a what's those things? A ankle bracelet, ankle
Ankle
monitor on him.
bracelet, ankle monitor. Yeah.
House arrest if you want, but free him. Let him out on bail. Let him go home and let him come back. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he shouldn't face any time at all, because if you did those things and you were found guilty and there's time that comes with it, well, you got to do some time. You got to do a little something.
Yeah. You got to do a little something. I agree.
More money, more problem. You got to do something.
What? And he had a lot of it. He has a lot of it. All right, my friend. It has been wonderful chatting with you. We must do it again sometime.
I
When is
love
your
you, Ella.
next love you too, my friend? When is your next spoken word? Where can we find you next in
You can find
Orlando?
me next. I am the host or the co-host of Diverse Word, the longest running poetry open mic in Orlando. Almost 20 years running consistently. And it's every first Tuesday of the month. So this month it was July 1st. Last month it was June 3rd. So it's every first Tuesday of each month at we just got a brand new venue. You guys follow me at big underscore John underscore study on Instagram. On Facebook, you can follow me under Johnny Ridley Jr. And I'll have that information for you right there. It's posted. I can't remember the name of the venue because it's brand new, but Orlando is just very exciting as it pertains to poetry. It's blowing up.
So I hope that you're going to join us. I posted it that the night before my birthday party, we're all going to meet up over at Sugar Factory. So I hope you're going to come over there with us. Do you like it over there?
Swaggin',
Yeah.
swaggin'.
You know what would be nice too if we could go to what's the Jamaican club over at City Walk? What is the name of it?
Mom.
Bob Marley. Bob Marley. Yes, yes, yes. I have a
Yeah,
friend that plays over there. That would have been fun too. That would have been
yeah.
fun too. Because I have
I
some
got a
friends that
feeling
are going
that
to be
too.
coming from out of town here. But for that night, we just want to get a quick bite to eat, because some of the people will be arriving Friday night. So, check that out. I want you to come out there. It's going to be fun because, it's
Yeah,
fun over at Sugar Factory.
of
It's a good
course.
time at Sugar Factory. Yeah,
I
I like
love
it over
being in
there.
Ella's presence. You can't tell. You can't tell. You
Oh, you're
can't
too
tell.
kind. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, we're gonna have a blast. So I'm gonna see you there and Saturday for your boots on the ground. So get your boot. I know you got your hats already because you have a
You
lot of
already know.
hats. Yeah, I
About
already know,
50.
right? I know, right? But all right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. This was
Shling.
a great conversation, and I will be back maybe Saturday. I'm not sure, but you guys have a safe 4th of July. For those of you that celebrate 4th of July, I personally celebrate Juneteenth, right, Big John?
That's right. That's right.
But I will be chilling tomorrow at home. Are you cooking tomorrow? What are you cooking?
Nah, nah, I'm not cooking tomorrow.
You're not cooking. Well,
Yeah, like
enjoy
I said,
your
I'm not
fireworks.
celebrating. Yeah, I'm not celebrating. I'll be in the
Well,
house.
you gotta, man, listen, you gotta cook anyway. I'm just saying. Anyway. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Thank you again for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. Good night. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407-334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.